either put it in like in the comments or just tell us like what brought you here today? Like what was something you'd like to get out of this presentation? So, because we can always customize it as much as we possibly can. So if you want to share with us what interests you most about today's presentation, what brought you here, what questions you may have, let us know right now, and we'd be happy to try to address those as we go through.
Absolutely. Yep. Or if you put that also, you can put some information about like what's your major, what kinds of careers are you interested in? Let's see. What steps you need to take to start your journey and what a resume for an internship would look like. Awesome. All right. Alan, when you're seeing my screen, is it showing up with full view?
Yes. Yep.
Perfect. I don't fully trust myself on Zoom all the time.
Yeah. And Michaela, what can you tell us what your major is and what you think you may want to do? So the more is my background's in advising. So the more information you give me, and actually Miriam too. So both of us. So the more information you give us, the more we can tailor it.
But yeah, that's an interesting question about like a resume for a job versus a resume for an internship. How you
Hmm.
can really tailor that. All right. So we've got sociology, looking at the criminal justice side, maybe something with paralegal. Okay.
All right,
That
and then yeah, then your language too. If you have if you're major, minor, or even just taking classes, because that can even knowing which language background you have could also help us tailor things too.
awesome.
Legals.
Anyone else wanting to share their major? Sure. Yeah. Looking for the right internship can definitely be overwhelming, intimidating. There's lots out there, but at the same time, they're going to feel like there's not a lot out there,
Yep. And
especially
also,
when you're exploring.
yeah, and Julia, just I saw yours. Just so you know, my background before I came to ASU was in public health and global health. And in our major that I had, this was at the University of Arizona, they had to do an internship. And I was the person in charge of the internship. So I supervised like 1,000 internships in my time at University of Arizona. So yes, we'll get into that and I can maybe even get into some specific health ones that maybe can be interesting to give you the general idea of how that works. Do you have English, Spanish? Okay.
Nice. Um, mainly just English.
Mhm.
Great. Um,
Well, I think
okay,
we
I
can
don't
let's
think
get
I, yeah,
started.
I don't
Yeah.
think I have anyone else to let in. So I think we're good
Russian
on that
major.
one. Russian major and health humanities certificate. Nice.
Oh, Russian culture and addiction. Oh.
Awesome. All right. Great. Well, thanks so much for being here as a guest speaker, Alan, and I'll let you go ahead and get started.
All right, thank you. Also, just again, as I already introduced myself, I used to be an advisor at the School of International Arts and Cultures and the Languages until 2021. Uh, Before that, I was at the University of Arizona in the College of Public Health. I was the assistant director for advising there, as I said, in charge of the internship program there, supervised like 1,000 internships. I helped connect the students to their internships. The students had questions about who to go to and where to find an internship. They came to me. And before that, I lived in Buenos Aires, Argentina. So I learned my Spanish, which is not great, but I still have Spanish background and a broad background. So that's me very quickly. Um, but that's where I can draw a lot of my experiences from. So an internship, so just to make sure that everyone understands what we're talking about, it's a structured short-term professional experience. So how, if anyone wants to, because can they unmute themselves or we have to unmute them?
You
Okay.
should be able to unmute yourself.
All right. How is an internship different than a volunteering experience? Who wants to, or you can even write it in the comments, but how is an internship different than just volunteering?
It gives you real world experience in something that you want to make a profession later on in your life.
Yes. What else? That's exactly. What else is different about a volunteering in an internship? Can you get college credit for volunteering? No, you can't. Can you? can you get paid if you're volunteering? You're usually not getting paid. And also that what I've had students who volunteered and they're like, why isn't, you know, like they were confused, like, well, I'm already volunteering at this place. Why can't I just use this as an internship? Which maybe they could. But one of the key features too about volunteering is that um, the expectations are different on their end, on the places end. Like I've had places tell me like volunteers like come whenever they want, and often their hours are very short, like maybe 1 hour a week or 2 hours a week, and it can maybe you just do it for a few times and you're done. Maybe it's even just one event. You go help with their big main event, and that's it. Where the internship is more like a job. I mean, and the expectations are very different too. So if and as a kind of a warning I've given to people is like when they volunteer at places, like the expectations of when you volunteer at a place compared to when you intern at a place are very different. The expectations are like this is the job, and so you have to be professional when you're at the internship site. So just like a little hint there. So again, it applies with internship, which can be like volunteering. So there can be a lot of similarities. Like if you're in a place, like what Michaela was saying, is that it can still volunteer at a place that interests you, that can relate to your professional experience, where you can apply your classroom learning. So that can go for either one. And then again, for us in the language program, we say including your language skills to real world settings is what we'd want you to do in your internship site. Obviously, to build skills and explore your career interests too. So that's the same thing both with volunteering and interning is that you can use them to maybe you think you want to do something, but you're not 100% sure. Well, it's really good to either volunteer at the place if you can, or do an internship there. And I've had students do this where they intern at organizations like, I had a good experience, but I don't want to do this the rest of my life. And now that I got to see what this actually is, like, I don't want to do that. And so you can use it as exploration because it's so much better to do it as an internship than when you actually go out and get a job. And then, you know, it still can be a learning experience, but it's better to do it now while you're in college. And they can be paid or unpaid. Obviously, paid are preferred, and there's research that shows that you do better off just in life by having a paid internship compared to unpaid. But also with my background in public health, so going back to the person who's doing global health, is that almost all the positions are unpaid. Like that's just how that field is, and that's just they're nonprofits, they're government, and there just aren't really paid internships. But if you do it correctly, as we're going to talk about today, they can still be very valuable. So how you do an internship is also as important as just getting one. So let's keep going. So the first thing that we're going to talk about a little bit later is like you have to clarify your career direction, like you guys are saying that you're a lot of them are not 100% sure, but the more you can clarify what you think you want to do, even if it's just like big picture, like global health. Like I want to do something global health, and with maybe Latin America is all you know, and that's at least something that's clarified that helps you narrow down like, okay, these are potential places that I can intern at. Because when I was doing the public health degree, and I don't know if any of you have an internship that's required for your degree, but the worst thing students can do is like, well, it's a requirement. So just like, it's like some kind of gen ed class. Well, I got to get this done. So I'll go intern wherever. It's like, no, you don't just intern wherever. You really need to think about where you're going. And so clarifying your career direction will help get the most out of that internship. Also, then why internship is important because again, this skill set, and I'm not going to talk about AI too much in this session, though it's you need to be very aware of AI. I mean, that's just there, and it's something that's going to impact your career, to be quite honest. And what they're saying is in the future is that a lot of the skills that AI can't do, they can communicate, but they can't be empathetic. They can't communicate like a human can do. And so the skills that you can build in college, like communication, intercultural communication, which again is something that you can get through the language program, is knowing how to communicate with people who are different than you. And AI can't really ever do that. And so though that's those certain skill sets that you can build are always gonna be valuable, even with AI in an AI future. And internships can help build that, help put that on your resume. Internships can also expand, which is again crucial, your professional and international if you're looking at language careers, your international networks. Because if you don't ever do an internship or volunteering or any kind of other experiential learning, your network are your faculty and your other students typically. where if you can get out there and do internship or volunteering, you're meeting people in the workforce, and these people can be part of your network. And the strengthening your resume and confidence is true. I mean, you need to, it's helpful if you can add these things to your resume, but don't look at it as like, I just need to put something on my resume. Because it's a very different, I when I was in public health, I had students, a lot of them wanted to be doctors. They're doing a public health degree because they want to go into medical school. And a lot of them had this checklist mentality. Well, I want to go to medical school, so I have to do X, Y, and Z. And they didn't really commit to their learning experiences. Like they're just doing it just to do it. And that's not the students who actually wanted to be at the site that they were at, who they were really involved. They wanted to do the work, and so they did really well. It just makes sense. If the place that you're at matches you and what you want to do, you will commit more of yourself to it. And then the people who are supervising is like, wow, this person did a really good job. They did these things. And so the letter of recommendation, you can get when someone calls them for a reference and they say, yeah, this person did X, Y, and Z, and they did really good. And we would have hired them if we had the money kind of thing. Like I've had as an internship supervisor, I would talk to the internship site supervisors and they would say that to me a lot. They'd say, wow, we just had the money. We'd hire this student. Of course, these are often nonprofits, so they didn't have the money. But that's what you want. By the time you're done, that's the kind of idea that you want to have from that. All right, let's go to the next one. So as I said before, you start with intention. Don't just randomly pick a site, which I mean, honestly, there's the research out there shows there's way more people who want an internship than there are internships available. So that's, it's like applying for a job in a sense. It's like, you and five other people want to do an internship at the same place, but only one of you can do it. So it is competitive. So you may say, well, I applied to one, I didn't get it, applied to another, I didn't get it, but still try to, wherever you're applying should be things that actually interest you. That's really important. So that's the first thing. Whenever I had students come in and talk to me about doing an internship, the first question I asked them is like, well, what do you want to do after you graduate? Like, that's the most important thing. So, okay, based on that conversation, and I was doing public health for many years, I would say, oh, you need to talk to X, Y, and Z. You talk to these three people because what you say you want to do and what the skills you want to build, these are the places you can go to get those experiences. So I could help guide them to those places. So here too at ASU, look for those people as well. Maybe it's in your major, could be in career services, but or it could be faculty. There's people who know, like, oh, based on what you say you want to do, the skills you want to build, translation, and where you want to be at in public health. A lot of students either wanted to be a nonprofit or in the government. That's typically where they didn't. A lot of our public health students, they just like, oh, business, like they didn't want to be in a business setting. They wanted just to help people, and so they thought they could do that in that kind of environment. So think about it like, what do you want to gain? Where can you do that? And what do you want to get out of it? So it's a two-way street. Like you're going to help them, you're going to provide some value to the internship site, but they also need to provide you with some experiences. And so you need to think about, well, based on what I think I want to do in the future, what kind of experiences do I want to gain by being at this site? Okay, let's go to the next one. Also, I want to thank Elizabeth Turkis from the Future Center who helped. She gave us a lot of information, which I'm basing this internship presentation off of. So this is a lot of Elizabeth stuff. And she's a valuable resource for you guys too, over in the Future Center for the college. So she has this 3-lane strategy that she passed on to me and to Miriam. So the most common thing to do, and I fall into this too, is that you just go to online stuff. Like, okay, that's where where are you going to find I think some of you mentioned this, where am I going to find the internship sites? The most easiest thing to do is go online to Handshake, LinkedIn, Indeed, these other platforms where you can go and look for applications, which is fine. You should do that. That's where a lot of them are. But don't limit yourself to doing just the online stuff. You should use multiple approaches, which we're going to talk about next, and then combine that with the job postings, your own networking, and then creating your own, which I'm going to talk about later, which is fantastic if you can do it. Let's go to the next one. So as I said, most of the stuff is out there on Handshake, LinkedIn. Handshake is the ASU's career services. You go to ASU's career services, they have Handshake, which lists jobs, internship opportunities. So this is through ASU. LinkedIn is a fantastic website. I teach the career course, so just so people know here, we have a new career course called SILC 394, Careers for International Languages and Cultures. And a big part of that class, it's a 1-credit class, so take it if you want it, in the fall is looking at LinkedIn and how valuable it is to use LinkedIn to find internships and jobs, to network with people, to research things. So LinkedIn is hugely important free website. And when you're looking for these internship opportunities, obviously, depending on your background, what you want to do, but the keywords don't just put in global health. If you have global health in Spanish, then try to look for things that combine global health and Spanish or certain countries that you want to be in. And then also in Phoenix, there are a lot of global companies. Like I just did a lot of research with Japanese, and you'd be surprised at how many companies are here in Phoenix that have a Japanese origin. And maybe they have like an English sounding name, but they're owned by a Japanese company. So look for global companies, organizations here in Phoenix. They exist. And you have to do some research on that or use career services to help you. And then you can check with the study abroad again, depending what you want to do. But if what you think you want to do is more international base, then you can do a study abroad experience where you can actually intern abroad. There's all kinds of internship opportunities you can do through the study abroad office and our international program offices. Now, if you click on the study abroad, does that actually take you to will it show up on our thing? Let's see what happens. Or you need to switch your screens to see that?
Yes, let me share.
Yeah, throwing a
The
curveball in there.
Very good.
But when I went to the Study Abroad website, um, the Global Education Office, excuse me, Global Education, and you go down, it gives you some general information. So keep scrolling down a little bit. And so, like, for example, so you can stop right there. I like to research things. The more you research companies, organizations, the more better decisions you can make. And so I went to where it says study and intern, and then it says semester internships. You want to click on the semester internships. All right, so these are places you can go to that have a semester internship opportunity. But I went to the ASU Washington Center semester internships. So I clicked on there, and it gives you a bunch of information. And scroll down a little bit. Thank you, Miriam, for doing this. Scroll down a little bit. Okay, where it says wide variety of internship placements, where it says academic highlights. So scroll down for right academic highlights, and it says wide variety of internship placements, and click on that. I know, I'm making this hard. All right, so it gives you information about this, but for me, what I find from my background, these are all these organizations and companies that will have interns. So you got all these. So if you're in business, if your background is business administration, and this is based in Washington, but a lot of these places have organizations or offices in Phoenix, or maybe you could, if you want to do this, you could actually intern with them over the summer or over the semester. So these are opportunities that our students have to do an internship with these international based or international facing companies. And then it also gives me some ideas of like, it says like Greater Peoria Economic Development Council, which I looked that up because we have Peoria is also here in Phoenix area, but it's actually in Illinois. But there are economic councils here in that are like the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce in Phoenix. There's Japanese like Chamber of Commerce. They have a slightly different name, but those are all these professional organizations based on countries or ethnicities, like Japanese or Arabic, whatever, here in Phoenix. And so by looking at stuff like that, doing research, it gives you ideas of, oh, these are places in Washington, or there's places locally here that I could do. So again, because that intent is like you want to find a place that actually matches you. So you may have to do some homework to find these places because they exist. All right,
Absolutely,
thanks.
yeah. Yep, so I put this link in the chat, and let me also put um, the Global Education Office internship link also in the chat so that you have those.
Oh, and actually, can you go back to that ASU at Washington Center link?
Yes.
Click on that again there. Yeah. And then scroll down a little bit more. I'm sorry. Scroll down. Okay, so stop right there. And
Mhm.
so go up a little bit. And it says International Coordinator, Jacob Zarate, obviously Jacob's last name. There's a person. There's a person that you can contact at ASU. His job is to help you. That's what his job is. His job is to help you find an internship that relates to that. So you got all these resources at ASU. You have your advisor, you've got the study abroad office, global education office. And so and then I look, what I do is I looked up Jacob, and Jacob has a very interesting background. And so if you ever meet with Jacob, maybe he has a background that's similar to yours, and so you can have a good conversation. So like this is this idea of networking, using your resources. Like don't just depend on going on to Handshake, finding an internship, and sending your resume off into the void where it may get something or may not. Use the resources, use the people that are here to help you find the best internship for you. All right, so we can go
Absolutely. Yeah, I've met
back.
with Jacob. He's very nice, very
Oh,
helpful.
so there we go. See it again. And there's you if you've got Miriam in School of International Letters and Cultures, who has her professional network as well, who knows people on campus. So unless you talk to people and tell them what you want to do, your advisors, your faculty, they cannot help you. So like when I was doing the internship program, if students didn't tell me much, I couldn't help them much. The more they told me, the more I could help them. All right, let's go to the next one. All right, so this is where, again, if you want to increase your chances of having a really good internship, this is the way to do it, is by talking to people, as I just said, who can help you get you where you want to go, because they can get you there so much faster. So 70 to 80% of opportunities for internships and even in career stuff comes through connections. When I was teaching the class, I reflected back on my own career, and like the first 4 jobs I had was because of connections. I never realized that before. It was like, yeah, the reason I got that job because these people told me about the job, and they knew people that could get me in front of the person hiring. So you're it's think about your family, your friends, like who do they know? What do you want to do? And that's the easiest way to get connections is through the people you already know and your faculty. So here I put SILC faculty because, again, if you're looking at language related opportunities, they know people. They know our graduates who've done similar things. They know people in industry. To be honest, like some of them know more than others. Like some of them maybe have a certain specialty, so they know a certain group of people, and others, depending on what you want to do, it just may depend on which faculty you talk to. So don't talk to just one faculty, and if they're not exactly what you want, it's like, well, the faculty are worthless. No, I mean, you got to keep looking for the people who match what you want to do. And you're not limited just to like your major or minor faculty. If there's somebody on campus, a faculty member or staff, who has a background or connections in their area, I mean, they work at ASU. These are all resources you have available to you. So don't limit yourself to just people in your major or minor. Also, our alumni, especially again, if you got like your Japanese major or Spanish major, Russian major, we have alumni out there who have gone through these same things as you have, who are very typically happy to help you. So reach out to them. That's where LinkedIn comes in. You'll be able to find the alumni. Talk to Miriam too, because she knows some of the alumni. So think about that. Connect with, again, people, bilingual professionals on LinkedIn. So it can be people, again, alumni. But what I've found in my work with this too is that um, people who have like if they're Japanese background or whatever language background, they're often and they went to USC or UCLA and they're happy to help people who have similar interests. It's like, yeah, so you don't have to limit yourself just to ASU alumni. People out there who have similar backgrounds as you are great people to reach out to. And then as community and cultural organizations, like again, if you're Japanese major, well, there's the professional organizations and there's other organizations, cultural organizations, like for example, there's just the Japanese Matsuri Festival, which is the festival of Japan, celebrating Japan. And everyone who organizes the committee has an interest in Japan. You got all these vendors from Japan, like it's all about Japan. So like it's a high concentration of people who maybe you can make connections with and maybe find an internship with. So go to where the people are. Like that, doing something like that just increases your chances of finding the right people instead of just randomly going on the internet. And actually, then the last thing that most students don't do this, but the best internships I've ever seen are when students create their own internship because it's your internship. Like you worked with the organization to develop a project is typically what it is. You have a project in mind and you do the project, you can measure the outcomes, and it's fantastic because you are in charge of it. And then later, when you're looking for a job, you can talk about this internship that you did that is all about what you wanted to do. So typically, when students created their own internship, often they already had some kind of inside information about the place, like they volunteered there or they were already working there, like part time or whatever. But often they already knew a lot about the place and the needs that they had. Like, oh, you know what, this could really, like, no one's ever had time to do this one thing. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do this one thing that could really help move the organization forward. And that's when they approach the supervisor and say, hey, you know, would you want me to do this? We can make an internship. And they work together to create it to make sure it meets their needs and meets your needs. And it has worked amazingly well when students have done that. So things you could do, like the examples are offer translation services or just whatever they would want to do. International business and marketing. Like I can get really creative when I think about this, like a thing like Italian majors. And I saw like the news in Italy, they have these small towns that so you're trying to help people solve their problems. Like that's basically what if you can help people solve their problems, they will say, hey, let's create an internship because you're helping them. And these small communities are losing population, and so they have houses for sale for $1 or for €1, and like what if one Italian major or minor approached them and said, hey, you know, how about a website or a Facebook page or social media where we organize it to help promote your €1 houses? They'd probably say yes, because why not? And that'd be a great experience for you. And on and on. If you think of how you can help other people solve their problems, you can often create an internship off of that problem. All right, let's go. Um, So once you do these things, once you do the internship or any kind of experience you're doing, the volunteering, experiential learning, the skills you gain in class, there's all if you're doing languages, there's all kind of skills that you gain any class actually, but with the language students, you're gaining these skill sets that you need to be able to translate so faculty or excuse me, that businesses understand what you've been doing. And again, like the next slide we're going to talk about like there's certain skill sets like multilingual communication, like being able to communicate in English or any language is very valuable in the workplace. And the stereotype for your generation is that you don't know how to communicate because you're on, you know, whatever. That's just a stereotype about students. So being able to communicate well, and by being, you know, when you're learning a second language, you're forced to communicate. Like you have to. That's part of the experience. And so you have that. You have the ability to communicate. The idea of intercultural competence basically is that in the workplace, you're often working with people who are different than you, and not negative or whatever. It's just that they have different life experiences, they maybe have coming from different cultural background, or maybe the company is trying to sell, you know, to a different market or a market that, you know, maybe it's the Spanish speaking market or whatever it may be. And so knowing how to do that, understanding the culture, like the stereotypical thing for Japan is like when you go to Japan, there's certain things in business that you have to do and don't do. And if you don't know those things, you look like the stupid, ugly American. So you have to know what's appropriate and it's not. And that is what they're looking for when they're looking to hire people. Being able to do research and analysis is something that's very important that you learn in your classes. Again, if you're doing it, as I was saying with the internship, often you are, if you structure it right, you're doing some kind of project and you can talk about that in your resume. Say, yeah, as part of my internship, I was in charge of doing this and I did this X, Y, and Z, and this is the measurable outcome when I finished. And by learning a language too, or studying abroad, learning a language, like that's being adaptable right there because you're automatically putting yourself in an uncomfortable position. To learn another language means like I don't know something, I need to learn it. And it's really difficult to learn for most people. Or if you study abroad, you have to be adaptable. So these are all things that employees look for, and often students don't even understand that they have that. They don't know how to put that and talk about it. So just realize that you are getting that as part of your experience here. And then leadership is something that they're always looking for too. And yet they may not come through in your internship, but it might. You know, again, the idea of like you saw something that could be improved and you brought it up to your supervisor saying, hey, you know, this is something that I think could be that maybe we could work on. And you take that project on, you do it, and that shows leadership. You're not just being passive and just doing whatever you're being told. You're trying to take some responsibility. So what I would suggest doing is that you avoid mass applying to every position that just comes up. It just sucks the life out of you. It's depressing because you're just randomly applying to places you don't really care about, and they probably know. And you'll get denied a lot more. So what I suggest doing is you find you do your homework, like I said in the beginning, you have the intentionality, you do your homework with these certain organizations that you really want to work with, and do is really dive deeply into researching them, connecting with them, and apply to them, or come up with your own, volunteer with them first, maybe like the semester before, volunteer if you can with the organization. Just get your foot in the door somehow, create your own internship if you want. Research how they use their language skills and say, okay, oh, this is a niche part of what they do, and they have not too many people doing that. So here's my opportunity to get myself in compared to other people who don't have that language skill. Tailor your resume. That's another thing you need to do, is that depending on where you're applying, certain skill sets might be more valuable. I had a student I was working with who actually his background, he loves theater and music. And so when he applied for a theater position, he really bumped up his theater background because that's what they're looking for. So again, depending where you apply, you want to maybe switch your resume up a little bit. Again, reach out to your contacts to help you get your foot in the door. They probably often right now I'm consulting for a company called Advisor AI. And we've had, I don't know, 20 some employees at a different point. And I don't think not one of them was actually hired through a job that was advertised. Every single person that works here was through networking. He's the boss of everyone. He meets people, he gets to know them, and then if they match what he wants to do, he ends up hiring them later on. So your contacts, getting yourself out there can be really helpful in getting internship and getting a job. And again, like applying to 5 or 10 places, this is the quality of the application and the place that you're going to, not just quantity.
Awesome. So we have a question in the chat. Would using these contacts as possible references be okay if they're okay with it?
Yes, 100%. Yep.
Awesome. And then I know the question came up earlier as well about creating a resume for an internship versus for a job, and are those different? What are those differences? Is that something that you're knowledgeable about, or would that be more of a career services question?
So what was the question again? It was
How would your resume, if you're applying for an internship, look different, or how would you tailor it versus applying for a job?
not, I mean, this is a career services question, but based on what I think, if it's an internship compared to a job, I mean, really they're similar. I mean, what I would say is different is that an internship, their expectations are not as much for an internship. So, um, it'd be okay to put something, it'd be okay to be more like a student. If this makes any sense on your internship when you're doing a resume, because you are a student, you are a student. Maybe you don't have a lot of experience with work. So you're going to put your coursework on there and maybe even your high school stuff. But then once you graduate and you're looking for a job, the high school stuff becomes really less important. And then again, you're going to tailor it more towards that specific career. But I agree with Miriam. Probably want to double check that with career services. But my one thought would be that, yeah, you're a student, so it's okay to kind of to reflect that in your resume.
Mhm. Yeah, definitely. Career Services is a great resource. And if you need help connecting with them, let me know. And like at the end, and I can put their website link in the chat or answer any questions you have about connecting with them. They can help review your resume, make suggestions, and same with like cover letter and other application materials. So they are truly the experts in the application process. And they can also help you kind of look at different industries and find possible job directions, internship
Yeah,
directions. So Career Services is another great resource that
yeah,
ASU has available to you.
yeah.
All right. So in terms of kind of some examples of where you might look for an internship, generally the ones that I've been seeing fall into 3 categories. So you might look locally. So looking if you're in the kind of Tempe, Phoenix area, looking at those local businesses, the community connections. If you are not in the Tempe, Phoenix area, then looking in your local community. The other option is a virtual internship. So something that might be a global company or a company in a completely different place, but you can, if it's a virtual opportunity, then you can do it from anywhere where you have a stable internet connection. So there are, I think, more and more virtual internships coming up. And then lastly, a global internship opportunity. So like Alan had mentioned on that global education webpage, looking at interning as part of your study abroad or part of your travel abroad or your global education experience while you are here at ASU. So those are kind of some different categories that things can fall into. And then in terms of examples of places that people have interned in the past, specifically with languages and cultures. So some examples of local businesses and groups in the Tempe area, Tempe, Phoenix area. McKinney Academy of International Studies has a middle school language club, and they've had some French students and some Italian students that help out with that language club. The Hispanic Research Center at ASU, their bilingual press initiative has internship opportunities for students who are studying Spanish. They're helping out with things like communicating with the authors, events. They do bilingual publications, so any kind of editorial work that goes along with that, community partnerships, people help out with their social media. So if you are at all interested in kind of the literature side or reaching out to a bilingual Spanish and English speaking community, then ASU's Hispanic Research Center is a great option. And then Japanese students have interned at the Arizona Gakuen School, which is a Saturday school that serves grades K through 9. So that's kind of another educational one where you're working with kids and teens, also in the language. And again, there are many more. These are just a few examples to give you an idea of what kinds of things students can do as internships locally. Another great local internship opportunity that's on campus and does not really require you to leave campus at all is a new initiative that we're starting in the fall. So it's the SILC Student Leadership Ambassadors. And for this, you would be working with the department, with School of International Letters and Cultures, to really raise awareness about inspiring others to study languages and cultures, inspiring that interest in languages and cultures, supporting our recruitment, outreach, engagement initiatives. Also, of course, practicing different leadership and communication skills. You will also get credit for it. So you get one upper division credit for the course is called SLC 484. In terms of time commitment, it's about 45 credit hours per semester. And the application deadline is April 15th. So let me send you that link in the chat so that you can take a look at that if that is something that you're interested in. So got my Leadership Ambassador Program. And I will put that in the chat. Awesome. All right, looks like we've got some things. Awesome. Thank you, Glenn, for providing some Italian internship information. All right, so there is SILC Ambassadors. And then this is also another resource for Italian for any of the any language and cultures at ASU. This is the SILC Internships page. So I will put that in the chat as well. So there's that one. So if you scroll down, and we're constantly adding to this. So as we make new partnerships and connect with new community organizations, I'll be adding on to it. But this gives a little bit of information on kind of internship requirements, and it doesn't go too in depth, but it gives you an idea. And then there's this internship application. So this is if you're wanting to, you found an internship and you want to apply for course credit for that internship, so you can get credit towards your degree. Then you would fill out this form. So again, it just gives you some information about like what an internship is and what you would need for your experience to be counting as an internship. And then it asks you, information about yourself, your major, what language, so that it can show up on your transcript as under the correct prefix. So, if you're studying Chinese languages, then it would be the CHI 484. Or if you're studying Portuguese, it would be the POR 484. And then you choose how many credit hours. So that depends on how many hours you are interning at that site. So if you're interning 45 credit hours, it's 1. If you're doing more than that, if you're doing 90 credit hours, then it would be, 90 hours at the site, it would be 2 credits. So that's how that goes. You can go all the way up depending on, how much time you are spending with your intern. Then you have an ASU supervising instructor, so a faculty member who is kind of supporting you throughout your internship experience. And that is basically what this form asks for. It asks for where you're interning, who's going to be or the contact at that location, what are the goals of the internship, what are your responsibilities, how will your performance be assessed. So that is that form. And go back to my big screen here. Okay, so that's student leadership ambassadors, and we haven't put a lot out about it yet. We are working on some final details, and then we will be hopefully getting that more widely kind of sent out. But if the web page is up, the application is open to be a student leadership ambassador for next fall. So if that is something that you're interested in, you can go ahead and take a look at that. You can ask me more about it at the end. And then some virtual.
Just a thought
Yep.
about that for the students is that like so this is something new, and
Mhm.
when you're talking like your resume and doing interviews, like being the part of something that's new, you help set the tone for that like forever. I mean, it's I've seen students who've started their own clubs or whatever, and like I've seen like 10 years later, they're still doing things the way that was originally established. So being a part of something in the very beginning can be very powerful in many ways, but it helps. It gives you a lot of things to talk about that you say, we did all these things by being the first part. So just keep that in mind.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we are definitely looking for kind of this first fall 2026 cohort of ambassadors to really be instrumental in shaping the direction of the ambassador program. So if it is something that can fit into your schedule and something you're interested in, I definitely encourage you to take a look at it, think about applying. You would need a faculty reference, so just one of your, one of your professors, one of your faculty instructors who would could act as a reference for you. But you just need to provide their contact information. So it's not a huge ask. Just speak with one of your instructors that knows you really well and can speak to your to your performance and abilities kind of as a student and your enthusiasm for languages, things like that. Then looking at some virtual internship examples. So the ASU Global Virtual Internship, if you remember when we were looking on the Global Education webpage, let me get back to that. So that was this web page again, and I can put that in the chat. So if we're looking on this one, then if we're this is the like general getting started page. If I'll go to search the right program, and here you can set all kinds of things like if you know where you want to intern, if you know what semester, what term, if you want it to be summer. Then you can see under search options, there's this where you can say internships available. So if you want an internship as part of your global education, you can say yes, and you can filter by that. So then when we see all of these ASU Global Flex internships. We've got all of this ASU virtual internship option. So if we click on that one and put this link in as well, there are all kinds of places that you can intern with this one. Let's see in the chat. You have to be enrolled in SLC 484 to be a student ambassador. Yes. So when you're accepted to the program, then we would provide the course. It's one of those courses that has the instructor permission required. So we would provide the override to then so that you could then enroll in the course. It is just one credit hour, so it's not a huge kind of addition to your schedule. But if you do have concerns about that, then or if that's not an option, feel free to reach out to me and we can kind of talk about, if that doesn't work for you, is there another way that you could be involved? All right, so yeah, this is the global virtual internship page. So if you are looking for global, this is virtual, this is through that global education office. All right, so then another option that I came across is a company called Scriptus, and they are translation. They're based in Canada, so they do a lot of translation in French. They do a little bit in Spanish. And they have some internships, so that's another example of like a company that if you're interested in translation, that's something they're doing. And just because you're not in Canada currently, or if you're not able to, travel for an internship, then virtual internships can be a great option. Then we've got some global examples. So we've got some great Italian examples. I know someone had asked about that earlier. Through ASU's, through SILC's global education program, so the study abroad with SILC. I know a lot of those programs do things with internships. So some examples would be Biblioteca Classense in Italy. So that's a library, a pretty well-known library, and they also do some cultural heritage curation things. There's a program that goes to Recanati, Italy, and they have internships with lots of organizations, including like a publishing house, museums. There's some more kind of STEM-based, lab-based internships with that program and some other ones. So that's some global examples. And then we already talked a little bit about this SLC 484 internship credit. So this is how you would get the internship credit once you find an internship, if you want the course credit for it. The thing with this, so the SLC 484, and this is different, by the way, from the section of SLC 484 that's for the ambassador program. So they're just two, it's the same, the numbers, the course number is the same, but the sections are different. So this would be if you are wanting, you found yourself an internship and you're wanting course credit for it, then the course would show up as either SLC 484 or whatever your language prefix is. So FRE for French or SPA for Spanish or whatever your language is. The thing with this is that to get this credit, the majority of the internship should be in your language of study. So that's something to definitely talk with internship partners about, is how can you kind of make sure that this internship is really in your language of study, or if it is very much focused more on culture instead of the linguistic components, then that can sometimes be an option too. But in general, we're looking for the majority being in the language of study to get that, if you're Spanish, that SPA 484, or if you're studying Italian, that ITA 484 credit. And then a reminder to just talk with SILC Advising if you are wanting to do an internship and get credit for it, because they can help you with all the steps. And it's definitely something you'll want to get set up, early ahead of time so that you're not scrambling at the last minute trying to figure out your course credit for your internship. All right, so let's see how we're doing on time. Yeah, so with just a few minutes, we probably won't take the time to kind of write this down right now, but as we are finishing up and as you are thinking about your next steps, one brainstorming activity that can get you just thinking about some different options that you maybe didn't think about previously, because often we get very focused on, one specific role or one specific thing that we want to do. So one thing to just broaden options that you're looking at would be to take some time, write down one of your career interests or your industries of interest. For example, maybe you're really interested in working something in tourism or hospitality. And then, so you have your interest and then 3 different types of roles within that industry. So that can broaden your perspective and get you thinking about like, what else can I explore? What else can I learn? What else can I maybe get into if I'm not able to get an internship directly in the role that I'm wanting? So things like within tourism, there's things like travel agents, tour guides, people that do marketing for that. There's people that work in food and beverage with tourism. So thinking about all the different kind of angles of working in that industry, and then starting to think about what are the skills that I need. So as we go ahead and finish up, I would love for you to put in the chat one of your takeaways from today. So something that you learned or something that you are interested in exploring further, something that is kind of stuck out to you that you'll remember will be memorable. And then, of course, we have time. If anyone has questions, feel free to ask those. If you also have ideas for other events, other career-based or just general language and culture-based events, definitely let me know. Put those in the chat. This is part of a 3-part series. So we had the first one in February, then we have this one, and then the third one is an alumni panel on April 15th. So if you are not signed up for that and you're able to join virtually, it's in the evening at 6 p.m., then that'll be a great one as well. So yeah, let me go ahead and stop sharing my screen. This is my email, by the way, mfiring@asu.edu, and I can put that in the chat as well. So then feel free to either ask questions in the chat or you can unmute yourself, whatever works for you.
And one thing I want to also mention is that I had a student in my current class, and he is a Japanese major, and he is interested in like the art and culture, and specifically like the masks and so forth of the making of Japan in Japan. Anyway, don't like if you're really interested in one like niche kind of thing, don't let that deter you from trying to find experience. Actually, that's great because like we did some research on LinkedIn, and we found a person whose job it is to take like basically wealthy people's art collection and do events in Japan. And it's like that's her job. She and so like who would ever have thought that, oh, there's a job out there where I can go and work with art collections and go and put them on display and use my Japanese ability and understanding the culture. Like there are jobs that they're called the hidden job market. Like this is an example of the hidden job market. There's all kinds of jobs out there that you've never heard of, but they exist. And so follow again, kind of like follow your passion. Like if you have like your interest in another student, like French, music, and photography, and concerts. Well, there's jobs out there where you can work in concert venues, taking probably in Canada and France, whatever. Just don't let your that's actually like your superpower. Like that's how you stand out is like, what are you really interested in? And try to find people doing that because that exists out there. Don't limit yourself just to the very generic jobs that are out there. Try to focus on your passions too.
Nice. All right. So we've got some takeaways. We had lots of resources. I like the idea of pitching and creating your own internship or project. Yeah, that's a great takeaway. It really expands kind of your ideas of what you can do too sometimes.
Mhm.
Um, creating your own internship. All right. Does anyone have ideas for internships that they would be interested in or like fields they'd be interested in finding internships in? You can put those in the chat as well.
And Glenn, I know you have probably have some experience as well. So if you want to share anything, please feel free to share.
No, I think the point about there are just less internship opportunities that we're seeing posted, but this idea of going out there, finding those organizations that don't even know that they need this help is great. Also with foreign language, the local is like localizing with AI. That would be a great way to like get these companies thinking about a more authentic voice, even if they're using it just for translation.
This whole idea of localization, which is a whole career. Like actually that scriptus, the one that you said, like that's what she does. Like she's in the localization industry, which is basically understanding the culture. Like, so if there's a product that's made in Japan, then they want to start selling it in the United States, they can't market it the same way they'd market it in Japan. They have to market it to the local culture. And so again, there's this whole career out there of knowing how to localize, which AI cannot replace that. AI can do the translations, but they can't understand the cultural thing. They can't understand jokes and humor. So, that's one of your superpowers by having that language background and culture. It's not just language and the culture.
Awesome. All right. So we've got something in publishing or public service. Nice. Finding something in paralegal work, research, figure out who to start connecting with. Yeah. So really focusing on that networking piece.
Yep, like Glenn was just saying, start fact first thing I always say is faculty. Start with faculty because you already know them or you already have like you have a reason to approach them because they're faculty. Maybe you took their class, maybe you didn't. It doesn't really make a difference. You don't have to take their class, but they're here and advisors and there's other people on campus too. Like Miriam, she has her background and experiences that maybe or Glenn, they have their background that maybe is valuable to you. So don't it's anybody on campus. And something in publishing and public service, there's like, well, there's a whole was it Watts, the School of Public Service? Like there's people here. So that's where I'd start first. And then LinkedIn and professional organizations. Again, there's people out there doing what you think you may want to do. So connecting with them that way.
Awesome. We had a professor from a previous section who had a strong background in criminal justice. Nice. Yeah. So if that's something that you're interested in.
And people want to help you. I mean, you'll be surprised. Often you're scared to approach the faculty or whatever, but they're here to help. They want to help. And I think like you said, somebody said bring it like you don't know where to start. Like you don't. There's just so much you don't want to go. But talking to faculty or staff or whoever, they can often point you to people. This is what other people have done. This is what other students did in the past. At least give you an idea of like, oh, this is a starting point. This is a company they went to. This is where they did their internship. So they can help you narrow things down so it's not so confusing.
Awesome. Okay, so yeah, if you're not on campus, then you are still part of the ASU community.
Yep.
So absolutely, when you're reaching out, you can email them, you can request a Zoom meeting.
Yep.
So yeah, you don't have to necessarily be kind of locked into that, trying to go meet with someone in person.
Yeah. No, if you're an ASU student, you're an ASU student. Doesn't make a
Mhm.
difference if you're on campus or not. I mean, it's obviously helpful if you can go meet with them, but you can still like Miriam said, Zoom meetings or whatever. When I was advising, I didn't if you're an online student or an in-person student, it didn't make a difference to me. You're my student, you know.
Mhm.
I advised you, and it didn't make a difference. And you know, depending again, it can obviously if you're not in Phoenix, you're in another area, then internships can be the local ones can be different, but the virtual ones don't make a difference. You can be anywhere and
Right.
do a virtual internship. What other
Awesome.
questions?
Yeah, if we have any other questions, feel free to put them in. If not, thank you so much for your time. And you can also unmute yourself and ask questions if you don't want to type them in the chat. But I hope to see you at the April event. That's April 15th. But yeah, thank you so much, Alan, for being here and sharing your expertise.
And Glenn, anything else you want to add? Just for us?
Yeah. Good luck to everyone. It's rough out there, but it's also this time of disruption. It's a great opportunity too, because I think if you just get out of that job board mindset, you
Yes.
can find some new pathways.
Yeah, the job board mindset can actually be depressing because you can't find exactly what you want. And you're like, you keep looking. So that's where if you take more control over things in your own hands, it's just better mental health wise that you have more control over your search.
Yeah.
Thank you.